Now you can listen to Wine and Dine Radio while shopping at the grocery store or your neighborhood wine merchant. Wine and Dine Radio can be heard using your wireless internet on your cell phone. You're listening to iWineRadio. iWineRadio is a production of Food Tastes Better with Wine on the web at iWineRadio.com. Hey guys, I thank you for listening to iWineRadio, and we are still the only wine channel on iTunes Radio. If you go look under iTunes Radio icon and scroll down to News and Talk Directory, and it's listed alphabetically, click on that and the stream comes up immediately. iWineRadio.com, where you can find links to individual guests. And if anyone's interested in advertising or becoming an underwriter or sponsor, please contact us at iWineRadio.com. We really, really appreciate your support. The more support we get, the more conversations I can have with fascinating people around the world, including you. If you have a story to tell that you'd like to share on iWineRadio, go to iWineRadio.com and contact us, and we'll go from there.
Good morning. This is Tim Reuling. I'm founder and co-owner of Reuling Vineyard with my wife, Jackie. We are in Sonoma County, California, and we welcome you to check our website and look at our wines at www.reulingvineyard.com.
We're on a big-time Pinot Noir and Rosé kick here on Wine and Dine, and this week is no exception. I'd like to turn you on to a delicious Pinot Noir Rosé, or I should say Rosé of Pinot Noir, that I just enjoyed a couple nights ago from Reuling Vineyard. Reuling Vineyard is in Forestville in Sonoma, and it's part of the Sonoma Coast AVA, and you know what that means. That means cooler nights and nice fresh acidity in the wine. Joining us today on Wine and Dine is co-founder Tim Reuling. He founded the estate along with his wife. They purchased the property in 1998, and I'd like to thank you so very much for joining us today on Wine and Dine.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Let's start by congratulating you on your winemaker, Matt Taylor, being named in Wine Enthusiast 40 Under 40 Tastemakers not even a couple weeks ago.
Well, thank you. He's obviously not on the program right now to thank you for his for you making that recognition, but he's a delightful guy and certainly a very competent guy and highly deserving.
How did you decide on the property that would become Reuling Vineyard? And with a follow-up question, how did you come to decide on Pinot Noir and eventually you'll be releasing a Chardonnay?
Sure, those are good questions. Actually, I guess it was in 1998 that we, at that particular time, were living in the Forestville area, but wanted to get a larger piece of property. But interestingly enough, not necessarily with the design of going into the grape growing business.
Okay.
Specifically, my wife had a design on getting a larger property with the express purpose of opening a bed and breakfast. Short story is that didn't work out, but we did find a great deal on 16 acres with a house on it and 14 acres of a rundown, neglected apple orchard, which really had its best use ultimately as grapes. So we made that decision and made that financial commitment. Went through an extensive due diligence process and had a backhoe in here and dug a lot of holes and had consultants in, and they walked away and came back a couple weeks later and gave us a report with a lot of promise and also pointed out some of the obstacles that we would have relative to dealing with certain pathogens in the property and the soil, et cetera. But so we made the decision, actually at that time, interestingly enough, to plant mostly Chardonnay.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably something you didn't know.
No.
And but it was sort of a twist of fate, and we ran into some pathological problems. The whole discussion certainly beyond the scope of this few-minute interview that we've got going on right now. But after about 2 years, we had to replace a good portion of our vineyard because of some tainted plant material.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was a real struggle, and but we stuck with it, and we spent more money, and just maintained our focus. And so it was that particular time that the movie on the Pinot Noir was.
Oh yes.
Coming out, and I'll come back to that and remember that in a minute. And it so happened that Sideways. There we go. Absolutely. And Mark Aubert with Aubert Wines had been working with us from inception, and he was still consulting with Peter Michael Winery at that time. And Peter Michael Winery was developing their big Seaview project, but they had some obstacles out there with environmentalists and stuff like that. So they needed to sort of jumpstart their property. Or I should say their Pinot program. So they came over here and sat down with us, and I guess it was about 2003, 3 years into our project, that we largely replaced a Chardonnay vineyard, which, with Pinot Noir. So end of the day, Lynn, we've ended up, the 14-acre vineyard is about 12.5 acres of Pinot and a little over 2 acres of Chardonnay.
Wow.
Long story, but I did my best to sort of condense it for you. So, yeah.
Wow. That is, who could have predicted that back in 1990 when you moved to Sonoma County?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, some things, are meant to be, and to a large degree, a good portion of life is out of your control. We all know that.
So you and your wife have done a lot of traveling to Latin America, to Europe, and your wife, who is an avid cook, took a course in Provence. Did you, as early as then, when you were traveling, even entertain the thought of, wouldn't it be nice someday to own our own winery, or at least our own vineyard?
The answer to that, no.
Really?
Just wasn't on the radar screen. I mean, we've liked wine for a long time, but very truthfully, when we lived in Tucson and people have swimming pools and you're sitting outside, I mean, we tried to associate with a certain amount of good wine, but to a large degree, you drink Chablis in great big plastic glasses and margaritas and spritzers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. It's just been an evolution, I guess you'd say. But a lot of it was just, really wasn't long-range planning. It just, came along, and we had friends in the growing business and friends in the winery business, and we said, well, let's do this leap of faith, and good Lord, that's sort of what it really was.
Mm. So talk to us about this Rosé of Pinot Noir, and you just released this a month or so ago. And
yes.
I hope that once people listen to our conversation, that you'll be sold out here very quickly, because it's there's not a lot available. It's stunning, beautiful pink color.
Yeah, isn't it lovely? And so, a lot of decisions that people make relative to making a rosé is somewhat of an afterthought. They have residual juice and stuff like that they maybe don't want to incorporate into their Pinot program or their Zinfandel program or whatever. But in this particular instance, we've got a small portion of our vineyard, maybe about 800 plants that were younger than most of the vineyard.
Okay.
And so we made the determination previous to harvest last year, 2012, that we would designate this portion of the vineyard for Pinot Noir. And what makes it unusual is that it's the fruit is from one of the 3 Pinot clones that we have here on the property. We have a Calera clone, and then 2 what we call Vosne-Romanée clones, Burgundian clones, which are suitcase clones, which
yes.
we really don't disclose the source of those. But this was juice that was designated, for the rosé, and it's just turned out to be a very delightful, as you say, a very lovely looking wine. And then we made the decision that we would put it in one of the Alsatian longer, thinner bottles,
yes.
as you see, what they call a hawk bottle. And so it's got grace to it. And it's visually, we believe, graceful, but what's in the bottle we think is quite gorgeous too. With a very good full mouthfeel of strawberry and rose, kiwi, some minerality to it, and it's got great acidity, good balance to it. A full mouthfeel, and with that acidity, it just pairs super well with salads.
Yes.
With seafoods, acidity, acidic foods like tomato, etc. And it's lovely. And so we picked that, and then it was aged for about 2.5 months in what they call a neutral French oak barrel. Neutral basically means it's used. It could be 3 years old or so. So the intent there is not to impart a lot of wood.
Yes.
Because in a 3-year-old French barrel, there's not a lot of residual wood
characteristics.
Characteristic to begin with. So after the 2.5 months in the French oak, then we put it in stainless steel for 3.5 months, and then just released it in March.
It's absolutely just stunningly delicious. And you also have for sale, I see up on the website, the 2011 Reuling Vineyard Pinot Noir. And as you're talking about Pinot Noir, talk to us about your choice to be farming your winery, your vineyard organically.
Sure. That's a belief system. You're either on board and you do it or you don't. And so with our 16-acre property, the house and then the gardens around it, we have about 180 different rose bushes and other flower gardens, and then I use that expression loosely.
Yes.
My wife sort of heads up that end of the program. We raise a lot of vegetables, and everything's organic. And the intent there, the belief is there that you want to, as trite as it sounds, is you want to leave the earth a better place than when you came here. And so we grow the vegetables and the flowers organically. So then we, after about a few years of farming conventionally with chemicals like everybody else did, we made that decision to convert to organic farming.
And and your wife provides produce to Food for Thought, Sonoma County AIDS Food Bank. Tim Reuling, I wish we had more time, but when you release your Chardonnay, you have to come back and join us again on Wine and Dine.
I would love to. It's a stunning wine, and lovely talking to you, Lynn, and wish there would have been more time, but thanks so much.
Now you can listen to Wine and Dine Radio while shopping at the grocery store or your neighborhood wine merchant. Wine and Dine Radio can be heard using your wireless internet on your cell phone. You're listening to iWineRadio. iWineRadio is a production of Food Tastes Better with Wine on the web at iWineRadio.com. Hey guys, I thank you for listening to iWineRadio, and we are still the only wine channel on iTunes Radio. If you go look under iTunes radio icon and scroll down to News and Talk Directory, and it's listed alphabetically, click on that and the stream comes up immediately. iWineRadio.com, where you can find links to individual guests. And if anyone's interested in advertising or becoming an underwriter or sponsor, please contact us at iWineRadio.com. We really, really appreciate your support. The more support we get, the more conversations I can have with fascinating people around the world, including you. If you have a story to tell that you'd like to share on iWineRadio, go to iWineRadio.com and contact us, and we'll go from there.